What's up, everybody? So, first of all, good news. We made enough money to get in a hotel, and we are in the hotel again. I am actually in the bathroom right now. Better acoustics, and it's a little bit quieter in here. So that's the good news for today. Even so, we obviously need a hotel for tomorrow and food for tomorrow and the next day, and so on and so forth. So, still, if anyone would like to donate, there's a PayPal link and a GoFundMe link on my channel page. And just in general, if you'd like to support the channel, yeah, just use those links. Anyhow, so that's good news. But this video is going to be about politics. It dawned on me that I made a video about who's going to be president in 2024, U.S. president, like, what was it? I don't know, month and a half ago. And I said I was going to make an update, and I never did. So this is the update. This is my newest current prediction for who's going to be president in 2024. So let's narrow this down first a little bit and put it into the category of who's going to be the Republican nominee and the Democratic nominee, because that's obviously where it starts. Okay, it's almost more important at this point in the election because we're so early. We're over a year away from the primaries, the actual presidential primaries. So it's probably better to talk about who's going to be the nominee of each party. But even so, I'll just talk about in general. So there was just a debate, a Republican debate. Several guys showed up. And the first, I don't know, where should I start? Okay, so my last video, my general prediction was that Chris Christie was a favorite. As surprising as that sounds. Just to kind of go over that a little bit. Again, it's just he's someone that, I think speaks his mind. He's kind of like, Chris Christie, I would say, is kind of like Trump. The good stuff of Trump without the bad stuff. So Chris Christie is almost all the good stuff of Trump but without the bad stuff. For the most part. And what I mean by that is both Trump and Chris Christie are very much individuals who tell it like it is, who say what's on their mind. They don't cut corners or what they say, mince words or anything like that. They're very much straight shooters, both Chris Christie and Trump. So in that aspect, they're very much the same. Okay, and that's what I mean as far as that's concerned. But the difference is Chris Christie obviously doesn't have all the negative baggage as Trump does. Chris Christie's not facing federal indictments, state, charges and all these types of things. And for the most part, Chris Christie is not Trump. At the very, very minimum. And that's important. Okay, because one of the reasons, or the main reason that Biden won in 2020 was not because anybody really liked Biden. It's because they didn't like Trump. Okay, there was basically two types of people voting in the 2020 election. Those who liked Trump, which was many and in the millions, and the other group, those who didn't like Trump. And it just so happened that there just were more people who didn't like Trump than did like Trump. It wasn't the 2020 election. Do not be confused. The 2020 election was not a Biden versus Trump. It was basically Trump against himself. It was basically whether you like Trump or you don't. And the reason Biden was picked by the Democrats, it was just like, well, he seems to have the best chance to go up against Trump out of everybody else. Maybe hopefully he could beat Trump. That was kind of the Democrats' philosophy or, hope, mindset, whatever you want to say. So again, no one was really shouting, there's no real pro-Biden supporters. They're all anti-Trump supporters for the most part. Okay, there's people going to argue about that, but whatever. The reason Biden won is because there was a lot of people who didn't like Trump. There's a lot of anti-Trump voters. That's why Biden won. Okay, and so going back to Chris Christie, one of the things that he has going for him is he doesn't have that stink of the fact that he's not Donald Trump. Okay, so basically for all the people who voted against Trump just because they don't like Trump, That obviously has nothing to do with Chris Christie. So say Chris Christie ran against whoever, it doesn't matter if it's Trump or um, Biden, doesn't matter whoever, just the fact that he's not Trump, that helps him out. Anybody, and basically any Republican running, just not being Trump is a positive thing, okay? And now I know people are going to say, yeah, but there's still a lot of people who like Trump. That's true, okay? Now let's just do hypothetical for just a moment, okay? Let's just say Trump became the nominee again, right? It's going to be, or it could potentially be just the same thing where you're either voting for Trump or you're voting against Trump. Let's just say it came down to Biden and Trump again. Again, Biden doesn't have any supporters, any real supporters. People are just going to anti-vote for, against Trump for Biden. That's all that would happen, okay? But now let's just say, hypothetically, it was President Biden against Chris Christie. Okay, then you don't have those anti-votes. Okay, then it would almost be anti-Biden votes. It's like, well, we really don't want Biden to be president. He's really old. He's in his 80s. He's going to be in, is he? Yeah, I think he's already in his 80s. He's in his 80s. A lot of people think that he's losing his mind, all this kind of stuff, right? And so people would vote for Chris Christie just, again, not even necessarily for Chris Christie, just almost as an anti-Biden vote. So it could go the opposite way as well, okay? And so that's very important when we're talking about who's going to win. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a good candidate. The other candidate could just be so despised or disliked that the opposite person could get a lot of votes just because they're like, well, we don't want that guy, right? And it's the same thing that happened in, 2016 with Hillary Clinton. Just as I wouldn't say that Biden won in 2020 as much as I would say that Trump lost in 2020. And the same thing I would say in 2016, I wouldn't as much say Trump won in 2016 as much as Hillary Clinton lost in 2016. It's a little bit more on the side of Trump won because Trump did have a lot of supporters, but I would say personally that there was more anti-Hillary supporters than there were pro-Trump supporters, and that's ultimately why Trump won in 2016. It's just because it's like it came down to two people that a lot of people didn't like. It's like, okay, some people were like, okay, well, we can get the first woman president with Hillary Clinton and all this kind of stuff, but and I even heard women say that. I want a woman president, but not her. I heard a lot of women say that. And so, yeah, 2016 was just another version of people anti-voting. People really didn't want Hillary Clinton, so they voted for Trump. And then, of course, Trump also got the supporters that actually did like him. And then, like I said, again in 2020, it turned around. A lot of people didn't like Trump, so they voted for Biden. Okay, so now with all that in mind, going into the 2024 election, you got to understand, regardless of who you personally like or dislike or whatever, you got to understand both sides. The people not only vote for who they like, they also vote against other people who they don't like. Okay? Okay, now, that's all being said, let's get into some real predictions here. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm going to touch on something that seems to be absolutely taboo in the news that I do not hear about. Maybe I shouldn't even talk about. Okay, no one in the political news that I ever hear talks about what if Biden doesn't make it through his term, that he passes away. I never hear. I don't know if it's something that I don't know, that you're not supposed to mention that, or it's like some kind of jinx or whatever. I'm not wishing that something happens to Biden, but the man is 80 years old, and I'm so surprised that you don't hear about anyone in politics saying, well, what if the man just doesn't make it to the next election? That's a whole year, and a year is a long time when you're in your 80s, okay? So again, I don't wish anything bad on Biden whatsoever, but simple fact, he's an 80-year-old man. So the first thing we have to say is that, okay, so we have to start with the facts. Oh, my phone is saying something. Oh no. My phone is running low on battery. I hope it doesn't shut off. I need to talk quick. No. You have to talk about that potentially Biden doesn't make it. Let's just say Biden doesn't make it to the 2024 election. Either he passes away or for whatever reason he gets to the mental state where he just cannot be president anymore, right? If that happens, remember, then the person who's the vice president becomes president, and that is Kamala Harris. Okay? I might have to cut this video short. This might be just a half a prediction video. We're just gonna leave it on. We're gonna leave it talking about Kamala Harris because my phone's running out of battery. It's gonna turn off really fast. Okay, so this is very important. Sorry to leave you guys with this, but this is very important because if Kamala Harris becomes president just by something happened to Biden, she's going to run for the 2024 election, and she is a strong favorite. The incumbent president, I don't care who it is, black, white, male, female, tall, short, the incumbent president always has an advantage. That's not a guaranteed win, but they have an advantage. And so I'm telling you right now, if that so happens that something unfortunately happens to Biden where he can't be president anymore sometime between now and the next election and Kamala Harris becomes president, she is a strong favorite to become president. And again, not because anyone likes Kamala Harris, but because she'll be an anti-candidate simply for the Republican Party. Remember, the Republicans' main thing is for a Democrat not to be president, and the Democrats' main thing is for a Republican not to be president. So if Kamala Harris is running as the incumbent president, she's a female, a person of color, all this kind of stuff, the Democrats can think, well, she probably has the best chance of anybody. We're going to vote for her. She's going to become the nominee, and she's going to run against whatever Republican. And again, being the incumbent president, you have a really good chance of winning the election. So again, if something happens to Biden, Kamala Harris becomes president because she's the vice president. She has a great chance of becoming president in 2024. So unfortunately, I'm going to leave with that because my battery is getting low. My phone is going to shut off, leave you kind of on a political cliffhanger. But yeah, so that's my partial prediction for 2024. If something happens to Biden, Kamala Harris is a very strong favorite, and my recommendation, the last thing I'm going to say, is if that happens, anyone out there in the Republican Party that has any kind of sense, I'm telling you right now, if for some reason Kamala Harris becomes president, because again, something happens to Joe Biden, I recommend you 1,000% that you get a female running against her in 2024. If Kamala Harris becomes the 2024, if she becomes the Democratic, I can't think, I'm trying to go so fast, the Democratic nominee for 2024, you need to get a woman up there against her. That will be your best chance of beating her. The best chance of beating Kamala Harris, woman of color and all this kind of stuff, the incumbent president, is to get another female. That way, say you take a Republican woman, for example, right? And a Republican woman, say she wants to vote for her party, but she also maybe wants to vote for her gender, right? Just say there's a woman like that. Just say there's this one Republican voter, right? And so if it's Kamala Harris versus some male Republican, say Trump, Chris Christie, whatever it is, right? You're forcing that female Republican voter to choose between her gender and her party, okay? Now, how many votes, I'm talking Republicans here, how many votes would you lose with that one woman, however many that adds up to, deciding to choose gender over party, right? But you can make it so she's not put in that position by putting a woman, making sure a woman gets the Republican nomination, right? That way, she can vote for her gender and her party in the same ticket, so to speak, right? So that's my final recommendation. This is a half prediction that Kamala Harris is this close to becoming president. Think about it, people. The president of the United States is an 80-year-old aging individual. I don't know why it's so taboo to talk about, but an 80-year-old in general is close to not doing well. Okay, we'll leave it at those words, okay? And so Kamala Harris is literally like this close to becoming president. It's a very strong chance that Kamala Harris could become president. And so if she does, and you're a Republican and the Republican Party, you need to figure out something. Otherwise, she's going to win. Anyhow, that's a video. That's a half a prediction. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.